Hi there, welcome along to Language Open Learning. This is the grammar course number 2, and today we are going to be talking about reported speech. Now, reported speech can sometimes be called direct or indirect speech. So reported speech is sometimes called indirect speech. Now, this lesson today will run alongside the PowerPoint presentation on the Language Open Learning website. If you're watching this from YouTube, then simply click the link below and this will take you to the Language Open Learning website grammar lesson. If you haven't registered yet, please do so. It's free to do and we have a lot of lessons on there for you to help learning with your English. So today we're talking about reported speech. Now, what is reported speech? Well, reported speech is when we tell another person what someone has said. So reported speech is when we tell someone or another person what this person has said. We don't quote, we don't say the exact words, we just give a general summary of what the person said. So for example, we have two people, Amy and Emma. Amy says to Emma, or speaking to Emma, "Hi Emma, it's been great. It was great seeing you today, or it is great to see you again today. I will call you next week when I have time." So Amy, speaking to Emma, she says, "Emma, it has been great seeing you again today. I will call you next week when I have time." Now Emma, 2 days later, speaks to her friend Peter, and she says, I saw Amy yesterday, 2 days ago. I saw Amy 2 days ago, and she said she would call me when she has time." So Emma speaking to Peter, telling a general summary of the conversation she had with Amy. She says, "I saw Amy the other day, and she said she would call me when she has time." Now, we usually change the tense, okay? We usually change the tense in reported speech. So for example, we would say will to would. Yeah, so for example, Amy speaking to Emma, she says that she will call her next week when she has time. In the reported speech, Emma speaks to Peter and says to Peter, "I saw Amy and she said she would call me next week." So the tense changes from whatever tense it is, the present tense usually, into the past tense. So when the tense changes, for example, the will into would, we sometimes add the word that. Now, that doesn't really mean anything at all. It's just put there. It can mean the same with or without the word that. So, for example, we can say, I saw Amy yesterday and she said that she would call me. Or we can say, I saw Amy yesterday and she said she would call me. So we can use that, but we don't really need to. Okay, so sometimes you will hear native speakers saying the word that, but really it's just put there for rhythm when we speak, to make things flow along a bit smoother when a native speaker speaks. So for example, let's look at the tense changes from the present simple to the past simple. In the present simple, I need some help. I'm speaking to my friend, I need some help. The reported speech would be, he said that he needed some help. He said that he needed some help. So the present simple, I need some help. The reported speech, he said that he needed some help, or he said he needed some help. The present continuous into the past continuous. So we can use the present continuous and it would change into the past continuous in reported speech. So for example, we are having lunch we are having lunch. That's the present continuous, yeah? So we are having lunch. So the past, this would change in reported speech into the past continuous. And that would be, she said that we were having lunch. The past continuous, she said that we were having lunch. So the present continuous, we are having lunch, it would change in reported speech to the past continuous. She said that we were having lunch. The past simple into the past perfect, okay? Or that can sometimes stay the same, but let's look at it. Let's look at how it can change. So the past simple into the past perfect. The past simple, I wrote 2 letters to him. I wrote 2 letters to him, the past simple. In reported speech, we can change that into the past perfect. So I wrote 2 letters to him. Into the past perfect, he said that he had written 2 letters. He said that he had written 2 letters. Or we can say, he said that he wrote 2 letters. So it can stay the same. Yeah? So that's from the past simple into the past perfect. I wrote 2 letters into the past perfect. He said that he had written 2 letters. Or it can stay the same. Also as well, sometimes we can use be going to. Yeah, like a future tense, be going to. We can change that in reported speech to was going to. Was going to. So for example, they are going to come back. They are going to come back. If we change that to reported speech, it would become, he said that they were going to come back. He said that they were going to come back. Yeah, so to be going turns into was going. Now the modal verbs will, or the word will, turns into would, and the word can turns into could in reported speech. So I will be home at 6 becomes, he said that he would be home at 6. Okay, so I will be home at 6 in reported speech becomes, he said that he would be home at 6. And lastly, the present perfect into the past perfect. We can say, I've lost my keys. The present perfect, I've lost my keys. Into the past perfect, which would become, he said that he had lost his keys. He said that he had lost his keys. So that's the present perfect into the past perfect. Other changes, well, there is no changes for things like, or for words like must, might, could, should, and would. So there is no change for must, for might, for could, for should, and for would. But this is on the presentation. So for example, I must leave straight away for London. I must leave straight away for London. If we put that into reported speech, we can say, he said he must leave straight away for London. He said he must leave straight away for London. So there's no change for must. But in the case of must, we can also use had to. Okay, so we can, when we say must, if we put it into reported speech, we can say had to. So for example, we say, I must leave straight away for London. But in reported speech, we can actually say, he said that he had to leave straight away for London. Okay, so must, we can also use had to. Note that if we write down some words, if we're writing some words, when someone says we don't use inverted commas or speech marks, we don't use them if we write a reported speech. If we're quoting what the person says, then yes, we do use them. If we're using the exact words, we say yes, we do use them. But if we're writing down reported speech, we do not use the inverted commas or speech marks. So let's look at where there's no tense changes. For example, if the report is about something which is always true, we don't need to change the tense. So if we're reporting about something that is always true, we don't need to change the tense. So for example, I like apples more than I like oranges. I like apples more than I like oranges. So in the reported speech for that sentence, it would be, he said that he likes apples more than he likes oranges. Okay? So there's no tense changes if something is true. But in cases like this, you can still use a tense change if you wish, but generally we won't use them. If the report is about something that has immediate relevance, we usually do not change the tenses. Okay? So if something we are reporting has immediate relevance, it means something to this minute, then we don't change the tense. So for example, we've got Jack speaking to Victor. And Jack saying, I'm going to the cinema tonight. Do you want to come? Okay, so Jack speaking to Victor, I'm going to the cinema tonight. Do you want to come? And Jack is reporting the conversation to Paul. So Victor is reporting the conversation to Paul. So he's saying, Jack is on the phone. He says he is going to the cinema tonight. So you can see that there's no tense changes there at all. So I'll go through that again. So Jack speaking to Victor. I'm going to the cinema tonight. Do you want to come? Victor to Peter. He's reporting what Jack is saying. And he says, Jack's on the phone. He says he's going to the cinema tonight. So as you can see, there is no tense change within that. So the two ways there's no tense change is if something is always true and if something has immediate relevance to the present time. We do not change the tenses. If we're talking about speakers in reported speech, when we write down the actual words, the speaker can be mentioned at the beginning or the end of the sentence. Okay? So when we're talking about who's speaking, the person's name can go at the beginning or the end of the sentence. So for example, if we're writing down, and you'll see this on the presentation, Jack says we're going to miss the train. Jack says we're going to miss the train. Or we could say, we're going to miss the train, Jack says. Okay? So the person who's speaking can be used at the beginning or the end of the sentence. Jack says, we're going to miss the train. Or, we are going to miss the train, Jack says. Notice how the grammar structure within that sentence on the presentation. You'll see in the first example that there is a comma used when, or the second sentence, there is a comma used when the reported person's name is on the end of the sentence. If the person's name at the beginning, then we use a full stop. If the person's name's at the end, then we use a comma. And you'll see that on the presentation. So if we're talking about people and places and time, in reported speech, the people, the places and the time often change because of the viewpoint of who's reporting it. So for example, I'll see you here tomorrow, says Victor. I will see you here tomorrow, said Victor. Victor said that he will see me here the next day. Okay, so you can see the time changing. Okay, so Victor said, I will see you here tomorrow. Victor said that he would see me here the next day. Could be the reported speech. We can also say, I bought this book yesterday, said Paul. I bought this book yesterday, said Paul. In reported speech, we can say, Paul said that he had bought the book the day before. Okay, so the reported speech, the time would change in that instance. Paul said that he had bought the book the day before. So the time can sometimes change. If we're summarising things, we usually just say what the person said when we make a report of what's been said. So, for example, Luke, actually tell him I'll give him a call or email him next week, okay? So the sentence is, Luke, actually tell him I'll give him a call next week or email him, okay? In the reported speech, this would be reported as, she said that she'd get in touch next week. So in the reported speech, she said that she'd get in touch next week. So really, we're just summarising the general points of the first sentence. So the first sentence again, Luke, actually tell him I'll give him a call or email him next week, okay? If we're reporting that, we would just generalise, just have a summary of what's been said, and this would be, she said that she'd give me a call next week. Just a general look at what's been said. There are three words that we always, or mostly always, use in reported speech. The three words are say, tell, and speak. Say, tell, and speak. We say something and we tell somebody. Okay, so remember that. We say something and we tell somebody. We say something and we tell somebody. Say and tell can be followed by the optional that. Again, okay? So we say something and we tell somebody, and we can also use that. So for example, it's warm today, she said. It's warm today, she said. She said that it was warm. She said that it was warm. Or she told me that it was warm. She told me that it was warm. We can use to after say, okay, but we never use to after tell. We can use to after say, but we never use to after tell. So for example, I come from Scotland. I come from Scotland. She said to me that she came from Scotland. He said to me that he came from Scotland. Or he told me that he came from Scotland. He told me that he came from Scotland. So we can use to after say, but never to after tell. Okay? She said to me, he told me. She said to me, he told me. The last one, speak, describes the action of talking. So speak describes the action of talking. So for example, Peter spoke to me in the supermarket yesterday. So Peter spoke to me in the supermarket yesterday. Okay, so that's reported speech number 1 on the English Grammar Course 2 for Language Open Learning. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you wish to have a look over the presentation again, please do so. If you're on the website, you'll see a green button down below. We have a few questions to test your knowledge. If you want to click the green button, you can now go on and take the tests. So good luck and thanks for watching. Speak to you soon. Bye now.